Hello, children! Today we'll be playing with a deck called Simic Yisan. The deck was originally piloted by a Magic the Gathering Online user, Cornswallow, very impressive name indeed, and he took it to a 4-0 finish in a daily, which I think is pretty impressive. And I guess this deck might just be viable, and the objective of these videos is to see whether it actually is. And the second reason is because this deck has 4 copies of Yisan, the Wandering Bard, and if you're not aware, there was a very recent competition on Mana League for a budget standard deck under £100, and one of the top 3 decks was also a Yisan, the Wandering Bard deck, and was very much more of a toolkit where you could fetch something out. This is a different version. This is a less budget version. Although saying that, I don't think it's very expensive. The only expensive cards in this deck are the 4 Coursers and 4 Pelucranos. I think everything else is reasonably budget. And yeah, Nixos maybe is a little bit, and you do have to have the Yawimara Coasts and Temple of Mysteries, but I think blue-green dual lands are the least played dual lands in Standard right now. So everything is very, very affordable, and I think as far as FNM goes, this deck is definitely fun and definitely competitive enough to take down an FNM type event. Okay, so what does the deck actually do? Well, it's a pretty much green devotion kind of deck with Yisan the Wandering Bard, which does a poor man's impression of a birthing pot. Yes, it's kind of like a birthing pot, but it's a creature, first of all, so it's very hard to remove. And if you draw it late game, it's a little bit awkward because, well, you have to first draw a 1-drop, then a 2-drop, and the 1-drops and 2-drops in this deck are pretty much Elvish Mystic and Kyora's Follower. If there was one change I would make to the deck, is probably instead of having 4 Kyora's Followers, have 3 and possibly 1 something else. I know Ice Feather Aven, at least it's a 2/2 flyer. That's a slight upgrade. I'm not sure if that's enough, but possibly. Bouncing things doesn't seem that great in Standard right now, so maybe that's just not a good enough Standard card. Or possibly the 2/2 with Death Touch and Ferocious. I forget the name of the card, but that's another possibility. But yeah, so there are a lot of options, a lot of things you can get. And some of these are one-offs, like for example the one-off in main board of Reclamation Sage, or the one-off of Nylea. Which was actually surprisingly good. I never thought much of the card, but in the matches I've so far played with this deck, it was surprisingly relevant. Yeah, so it works like a green devotion deck, and basically you're just trying to reach a critical mass of creatures that your opponent can't deal with. It works really well if you have a Prophet of Krufix in play, and you're able to power out double Yisan, basically. That means 2 Yisan activations per round. Genesis Hydra also gets you 2 creatures pretty much consistently, and we have Clever Impersonator as well, because I don't know, it just seems like one of the most overlooked cards in Standard right now. I guess with so many aggressive token strategies, it's just a little bit too slow, but it's, I think, one of the better clones printed in Magic, so it's a shame it's not seeing more play. It's definitely very good in this deck because it does allow for quite a bit of versatility. Yeah, so we have Coursers, we have Sages, we have Pelucranos, because it's just a 5/5 for 4, and its removal, it's just a beating. Arbor Colossus is a necessary evil, because a 6/6 with Reach is it's just good, and if you manage to Monstrosity this guy, then you are winning. And at the end of the curve, with 7, we have a Hornet Queen here, because what green deck does not have a Hornet Queen in Standard right now? As for the sideboard, we have one of the best blue cards ever in Standard, in current Standard. I think it's Disdainful Stroke, and it's incredibly powerful, incredibly relevant in this format. We have Nylea's Disciples. We have 1 in the main board, but 3 in the sideboard, and they are absolutely killer in the aggro matchups. They are just so good. We have an extra Court of Calling, an extra Hornet Queen, an extra Forest. I don't know why Cornswallow decided that an extra Forest was necessary in certain matchups, but I've never found the need to actually board it in. Again, there's also a very good blue card in the sideboard. And that pretty much rounds out the package. Alright, let's take the deck for a whirl, see how it does.